the dog-headed Nephilim of India, according to the Indians written by ancient Greek Ctesias. Now, we shouldn't be alarmed. He was not the first one to write about this. Alexander the Great had historians and recorders of everything he was doing every single day in his conquests, from Greece all the way through into the Himalayas and India. And he had encountered these types of humanoid Nephilim. He called them the abominable races. So they were there, even the time of Alexander the Great, around 300 BC. So these dog-headed Nephilim of India, according to Ctesias' writings on the Indians, according to legend, this country was visited by the god Dionysus and his retinue, and taught its inhabitants the cultivation of the vine and the production of wine. Beyond the myth, however, history has saved real contacts with this country, and the first of all those who mention it is Scylax the Cariandius, 520 BC, in his work Earth Period. This first Scylax, because there is no younger one with the same name around 350 BC, by order of Darius of Codomano, had sailed the Indus River and made a circumnavigation from its mouth to Arabia and Suez. Unfortunately, Scylax does not refer to Cynocephalus, which Ctesias does extensively. So Ctesias, the Ctesias, 5th to 4th century BC, is the first Greek writer to write a book specifically about India, the Indika, which was lost, like his other famous works on the Persians, but we know them because, apart from the few passages that have been saved by various authors, such as Elianos, Photios includes them in his famous library, also known as Myroviblios. Photios, one of the great spiritual personalities of Byzantium, served as ecumenical patriarch in the periods 857 to 867 and 877 to 886 AD. And once, by decision of the Byzantine Senate, he was appointed ambassador to the Assyrians. Before his departure, he wrote the library, which is essentially a summary of exactly 279 books of what the learned patriarch had read, which he referred to from memory. This is, of course, both good and bad. The good thing is self-evident. The patriarch rescued, even if briefly, the contents of books that have been lost, while the bad thing is that from memory, quote-unquote, it was not possible to remember exactly what he had read. And for that matter, the work of Ctesias, Indika, clearly is varied and not accurate. I contradict what Ctesias miraculously mentions in his work Indika and limit myself to what he wrote about the dog-headed Cynocephala. So in the mountains of the Indus River live people who have the head of a dog. Their clothes are made of the skins of wild animals. They do not speak any language but bark like dogs and communicate in this way. The Indians call them Calistrians, which means dog-headed. Their teeth are stronger than those of dogs. They can be found as far as the Indus River. They are black and have a deep sense of justice like the other Indians with whom they are in contact. They understand the language of others but cannot speak to them. They get along with meanings like deaf and dumb. Their nation numbers 120,000. They live by hunting, the meat of which they dry in the sun. They have sheep, goats, and donkeys. They drink milk and sour milk. They also eat the fruit of the siptakoro, which is a sweet and which the Indians dry like the Greeks dry the raisins. The dog-headed Cynocephalus construct a raft in which they load these dried fruit, the cleaned purple flour, the electricity which they exchange with the Indians for bread, food, flour, and cotton clothing. They buy from them swords, which they use in hunting wild beasts, and even bows and javelins, in the use of which they are exceedingly skilled. They are invincible because they live in the high mountains that are inaccessible. Every 3 years, the king gives them 300,000 arrows, 120,000 shields, and 500,000 swords. They don't live in houses, they live in caves. They hunt beasts with bows and spears. They are so fast that they outrun these beasts. Their women bathe once a month when their periods come, never before. The men do not bathe but are rubbed with some oil extract from milk and wiped the skins. They dress in thin skins, men and women. The wealthiest wear linen, but they are few. They don't have beds, they sleep on mattresses made of tree leaves. Wealth is calculated based on the number of sheep. For the rest, however, it's fairly evenly distributed. All of them, male and female, have tails like dogs. Men unite with the women four-legged, as again the dogs. They are fair and live up to 200 years. The Greek mythology, history or philosophy, monsters, anthropomorphic or not, often appear to have played an important role. As Columbus biographer Jack Heers notes, fictional people have always captured the imagination from the time of the Greeks to Pope Pius II. Some writers and artists describe or depicted monsters, which also represented the sculptures of the Roman era. Dog-headed anthropomorphic creatures are often mentioned in medieval literary texts as representing magic, especially black magic, barbarism, beastly behavior, and evil. They retained most of the elements of the mystery legends of the East and incorporated them into the curiosity that characterized the guests of medieval Europe. As he states in his works Isidore of Seville and other historians, the similarity between the dog-headed creatures of antiquity and the tradition of werewolves is interesting. Besides, the myths about the latter, which are among the oldest in Europe, seem to be mixed up in several places with the traditions of the dogheads during the Middle Ages. The first mythological werewolf the would-be researcher encounters comes from Greek mythology and was Lykion from Arcadia. Lykion means wolf in Greek. In his attempt to mock Zeus, he provoked the wrath of the father of the gods, Zeus, who broke out, transforming him and his sons into wolves. This story is conveyed by the historian Apollodorus the Athenian, but also by Pausanias in Arcadia. According to the Dictionary of Ancient Greek by Stamotakos, the word Lyki means light, and therefore the werewolf was nothing but the mystic, the possessor of light and knowledge, who participated in the ceremonies held in honor of the star Sirius, the constellation of the dog. So this is by Pliny Natural History, Ctesias Indian, Ecumenical Patriarch Photius Miraviglius, and Theano Katura, Free Press Magazine, from the Discovery of the Ninth Wave, and I've translated for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.